A beautiful morning and good morning to you. It's a lovely Monday morning, 26th of March, 2018, the day of our Lord. Certainly, it's a grateful day to be alive. And you can see, you can hear us, you can speak, you can move about. That means God has given you another day to live. And we're grateful to have you allowing us to be in your homes and on your screens this morning. Good morning, guys.
Morning. Charlie, how's the weekend?
It was good.
It was
Again,
good, yeah.
In March, which is a good month, it was long enough for us to rest. Yes, I have to. Because very soon you'll be ending March and you realize that the weekends are getting shorter. So just to remind you.
So you just want to enjoy it while it lasts.
Yep, you
George,
do.
how's yours?
It was cool. The initial plan was to go to the 3 music awards, but
Okay.
I couldn't make it. I slept.
You didn't have kwacha to
Oh, how much is, transportation from my end to
No, it's
trade
okay.
fair?
It's okay.
Anyway, but speaking of the 3 music awards, there has been a lot of discussions about it. What I would like to say is early days yet. It's the first of such awards. We would want to think that at least it saw the contribution of other people who were unspoken of when it comes to the VGMA. So definitely it does offer some other platform for musicians to be celebrated. And kudos to the organizers and of course MG that partnered, the organizers to get this done.
Yesterday, I read a statement from the 3 Music Awards team apologizing to some artists, Tiny, Shatawale, and a couple of others, Kwesiatha, and a couple of others that, well, they had some challenges, which is why I was backstage. I saw some of what happened. It was unfortunate, but I think it's a step in the right direction that they have been able to identify the faults and have apologized. And I hope that the parties involved, Shatawale, Kwesiatha, Tiny, will accept the apology and move on. But altogether, it was a very good event. It was very good event. I think that apart from the few hitches here, it was a good event. For a first time, it was sweet. I like the fact that most of the guys also, some of them did the live band performance thing, which for me is a plus, and I've been advocating for that for a very, very long time. And then the Fantasy Dome blew my mind. It was great. 15 million capacity, 15,000 capacity. And I'm like, wow.
It was a big one,
I was so amazed. I'm like, wow.
How true is it that they took 2 days to, erect that?
Well, I mean, those are prefabricated, so, you just piece it together. But, I mean, as the auditorium and where we had the thing, the large numbers that you saw, we used just about half of the entire stretch. So if we're pulling them, for me, I want more of those things, because if we get more of them, then we won't have the National Theatre telling you that, oh, there's a politician who has come to hire the place, so move your event, or the conference center tells you, hey, you want to have a colloquium, so move your event. No, but I think we should have a lot more, and we should support private people to do a lot more of that.
And again, the maintenance culture will always come in, because like you're saying, it's beautiful now, but hopefully we pray that 5 years down the line, it will still be the same. Maybe even 5 years is too much, because we know how we work. Within 2 years, it's down and everyone is complaining, but no one seems to care about it. Again, our monies then go to waste. Hopefully, these things will be looked at.
I hope, though, that, and this is a call that I've made to the Ghana Revenue Authority over and over again. Look, if all our musicians, if all our actors, if all our actresses, all our people, somebody is earning 100,000 for performing on a night. Somebody is earning 250,000. How much of it is taxed? How much of that money do we tax? Because these are the same people who come and say the government must put up places, the roads are not good. The government must put up event centers for us to be able to perform, because once there's a multiplicity of the event centers, the shows will also multiply and they will earn more money. But how much of their money is taxed? How much of their money?
Public knowledge,
exactly.
How much
yes, because somebody gets 100,000 for one night, how much of it is taxed? We must ask the question. Sometimes not even up to 2 hours. It's up to 15 minutes, 20 minutes. They perform, they go. But who collects the tax? So the tax is just about us. And we saw recently the statistical service, the population thing, 29.6, and there's a dependency ratio of 73
to 1.
So those of us who are paying the taxes, they always keep coming back to us. And those who earn more than we do, how much of it left off the hook?
And not to also forget
all those people who performed last Saturday. how much of their money was taxed. I saw the Ghana Revenue Authority there, but they were collecting money from the event organizers. How about the personalities? Were they taxed to pay? So Stoneboy was on stage. Was he taxed? Exdo and Chicago were there. Were they taxed as well? Were they taxed? Jobeto was there. Was he taxed?
We hope they were. But of course, everybody was also, you know, late in this weekend. And finally, I mean, her soul.
There was just fuss about this look-alike. And I thought she didn't look like everybody.
I also didn't think she looked alike. But anyway, let's go into serious matters this morning
the news
with the news.
News is up next year on your favorite morning show, NewDay. I'm George Quinn, and just so you know, you can watch us live on DSTV channel 279. And let's start off with our very first story. 7 electronic gates have been inaugurated at the arrival hall of the Kotoka International Airport Terminal 2, with 2 other e-gates yet to be installed at the departure hall. The full complement of the e-gate system at the entry and exit of the Kotoka International Airport will cost the country some $18 million.
The e-Gates facility is open to Ghanaian citizens who have to register with the Immigration Service to be able to use the e-Gate. The entire project will cover the Immigration Service headquarters and subsidiary offices, Kotoka International Airport, the 2 seaports at Tema and Takrady, 3 land borders of Paga, Aflao and Elubo, and the Disaster Recovery Center at Nita. A Deputy Commissioner of the Ghana Immigration Service, Eric Afari, said the new system is to complement the existing technology at the airport.
We believe that after this inauguration, Ghanaians will be encouraged to enroll so that we take about 57% of all the travelers who come here to the e-gate and then free the electronic booth for the rest of non-Ghanaians. The overall effect will be that we'll reduce the processing time.
The e-Gate is embedded with a facial recognition system, which makes it possible to detect whether or not the holder of a passport is the actual owner.
I'm using my colleague's passport. Now I can't go this way, I can't go this way. I'm locked. Okay.
Traveling with somebody's passport, you can go to jail for some few number of months.
So this is what I want us to strengthen.
Yeah, the investigation would also look for the owner of the passport.
For the owner of the passport.
Minister for Communications, Eslo Usu-Ekufo, entreated all stakeholders to engage in extensive public education to enable the public avail themselves to the innovation.
It will allow travelers to use their passports to automatically enter and exit the country. It will do identification, authentication and verification.
The Minister for Aviation, Cecilia Dapa, urged the Ghana Immigration Service to ensure efficiency in the use of the e-Gate.
And I believe the maintenance culture, if I am registered and I come in once, it's not working, twice it's not working, 3 times, I will abandon it and go through the normal electronic or manual booth.
Martin Rivard of Gemalto, the main contractor of the project, assured the minister that the e-Gate system provided for Ghana is of world standard and specifically developed for the country.
My job is a project director for installing border control and security system at airports and border. So far, this is the most effective and efficient system.
Managing Director of DAT Communications, a local contractor, Eko Jani Selby, indicated the need for more local content in such government projects.
We have economic benefit. We also have knowledge-based benefits, whereby the knowledge is transferred to the Ghanaian. So in the future, hopefully, these projects, Ghanaians can take the lead.
These e-gates will in future be installed at the new Terminal 3 after the airport construction works are completed.
And now the Chief Executive of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Yofi Grant, says the center is determined to meet a target of registering businesses worth more than $5 billion. Cedis, pardon me. He was speaking at GIBS Business Leaders Breakfast Meeting Series here in Accra.
This edition of the quarterly event was on the theme Technology Transfer Regime in Ghana, the Public and Private Sector Convergence, which provided business leaders and owners an open platform to engage policymakers on their experience with the law. Head of Legal at the GIPC, Nalamle Olins Lindsay, noted some companies violate the law by transferring money to their parent companies without technology transfer agreement and approval by the GIPC.
The GIPC has the power, working with the Bank of Ghana, to suspend, cancel or revoke the registration. We can also liaise with the GRA to disallow your expenses. Because of the amount of flouting of the law that is going on, it's seriously being considered to actually enforce some of these penalties on companies infringing the GIPC law.
The CEO, Yofi Grant, indicated the GIPC, with assistance from the Central Bank and the Ghana Revenue Authority, is ensuring that the laws are respected.
We are working with GRA and the Bank of Ghana to ensure that the banks do not transfer any monies for any such services or fees for any such services without a technology transfer agreement. I do concede that some have done it over years. They've transferred monies for all sorts of services without a technology transfer agreement registered with the GIPC. When we do, what happens is that the taxman, if he finds out that is what you've done, can actually reverse those expenses back onto your P&L such that they are tax chargeable.
He noted the center is on track in achieving its target of registering businesses worth more than 5 billion cedis.
ExxonMobil deal that was signed is worth about 6 billion. There are quite a number of them. If we're able to complete works for the railway, for the integrated bauxite and aluminium industry, and the iron ore in the north, we believe that would definitely exceed the 10 billion.
The Ghana Investment Promotion Center seeks to promote, facilitate, and encourage investments.
To protect the interests of the...
Away from investment, let's move to education, where pupils of the Otepiro District Authority Basic School in the Central Region study under poor conditions. A toilet facility meant for the community is now serving as a classroom for pupils. Our correspondent, Lucy Ayambela, visited the school and has filed the following report.
The Otepiro District Authority Basic School was established in the year 1963 by the Otepiro community. As the years went by, the number of pupils kept increasing, hence the need to provide more classrooms. With a population of 316 pupils and serving other adjoining communities, classes 3, 5, and 6 are held in a toilet facility that was meant to serve the Otepiro community.
These are the holes indicating it was a toilet facility and was later covered to be able to be used by the pupils. Now let's get in there too and see how this place too looks like. This place has been locked, but I'm told because they don't want any disaster, that is why they decided to lock the place to prevent pupils from entering, because the hole is still there and covered.
Coupled with that, the facility is situated in a waterlogged area and gets flooded anytime it rains.
Politicians always come here to campaign during election seasons.
The main school blocks are in a deplorable state, with cracks having developed on the walls, and the floors of the classrooms are cracked open. The verandas and stairs leading to the classrooms are no exception. The school is also bedeviled with inadequate furniture. These pupils have no option than to sit on bare floor to study, whilst the few lucky ones make use of plastic chairs belonging to a church. Over the years, there have been controversies as to whether the school is under the Gomwa Central District or the Agona West Municipal Assembly.
The community was their priorities. Past 8 years ago, NDC regime.
We are confused because we don't know where we belong.
contractors now would turn to Agra. This is Agra West Municipal Assembly. And the administration near Agra. But education ogumwa inti ehu mesma yesisia otepro yekegana onso yekegana ho.
Though school authorities declined to speak to us, the Asafusupi of the community, Nana Kowata, who gave an insight of the school, called for support to construct a befitting classroom block. He appealed for the extension of electricity to the community's new sites. Lucy Ayambila, TV3 News, Otepro.
You can engage us on stories aired so far on our social media platforms. On Facebook is News on TV3 and on Twitter is our News TV3. Our WhatsApp number is 050-823-5228. Away from education, Kwesi Bokrum Bridge linking Ghana and La Côte d'Ivoire in the German South district of the Bono-Afo region is in a poor state. Both shoulders of the bridge have eroded, leaving a portion of the upper surface hanging. District Chief Executive of German South, Alhaji Abu, described the bridge as a death trap requiring urgent attention. Johnson Techi has more.
In spite of the bad nature of the road, drivers plying the road have no option. This is where heavy-duty trucks convey both cocoa and cashew for export. The District Chief Executive of German South, Alhaji Abu, says the deadly Kwesi Bokrum Bridge needs financial support from the central government. At Kwesi Bokrum, erosion has eroded greater portion of the town. The people who spoke off camera say when it rains, they are compelled to be indoors due to severe flooding. Alhaji Abu assured the people of addressing the problem.
The common fund that comes to the assembly is such that if we want to spend it on such bridges, this one is not just COVID, but it's a big bridge. It will drain the whole, conference of the assembly. So we have to appeal to highway. I think that road is a highway, so that they will come in and then put it into good condition. Other than that, people may lose their lives there.
The 15 kilometers international road linking German South District Capital and Kwame Sekrum International Border Post has deteriorated, affecting income generation. Another worrying situation facing the people of German South and North is the remained 14 kilometers Japekrum and Brekum road. The drivers say, due to the bad nature of the Japekrum-Brekum road, armed robbers most often attack passengers.
The road is terrible. We are pleading with government to help us.
And in other news, we are told the research conducted on water in the lower Volta basin of the Volta River showed high levels of pollution, which in some cases leads to incidences of diseases, including bilharzia, in adjoining communities. The research results have led to the provision of simple water purification systems for Apliva and 4 other island communities at the Volta estuary.
Along the Volta estuary at Adan East are 22 island communities. Majority of the island dwellers depend on the Volta River for all their domestic chores, aside fishing, which is their mainstay. However, irresponsible human activities coupled with climate conditions have led to severe pollution of the water, making it unsafe for consumption. Residents continue to bath, defecate and dump waste into the water. A recent research conducted by the Water Research Institute, Ghana Standard Authority and the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research in the area showed pollution level of 558 coliform and 140 fecal. The pollution, according to the Adan East District Director of Health, Dr. Phyllis Anya, has resulted in residents contracting some diseases including bilharzia.
So the raw water one that they took, they have 558 total coliform. Then the fecal one, 140. That's from the water. Okay. Then they took water from the machine that purified the water, the river water. And in that one, they didn't get any coliform. The fecal one is not.
Easy Water for Everyone, a non-governmental organization, has stepped in to treat water from the river to residents of Afrive and 4 other island communities.
In the past, you could drink water just from the river, but now there's a lot of activities going on in our rivers. We have people doing fish farming. On our way here, we even saw someone bathing in the river. So we are encouraging people not to drink water directly from the river.
The intervention is a simple purification device with an overhead storage facility.
Our intention is to work and provide this device in all 22 communities. Currently we are in 5 communities. We hope that by the end of next year we could cover almost all these communities so that they all can drink clean and safe water, because clean water is a right, and we hope that everybody in this, on this island will have access to clean drinking water.
You can see it even in the bottle. Very, very clean. You can test it.
Away from the Volta region, let's move to the northern part of Ghana, where tomato farmers at Nimoro, a village in Sisala West District in the Upper West region, are appealing to government as part of its flagship One Village, One Dam project to dredge a dam which is their only source of livelihood during the dry season. The farmer group, who produced a lot of tomatoes over the past 7 years, now suffer the consequences of lack of water to water their vegetables. Here's a report by Yakubu Abdul Ghaffar.
The dry season garnering at Nimoro was set up by Plan Ghana to engage the residents of the area to earn a living instead of traveling down south to look for non-existent jobs. A total of 32 farmers have been producing vegetables, particularly tomatoes, on the 8-acreage garden. The number of farmers has been increased to 44 as a result of youth of the area who returned from down south to join them in the gardening. But the water in the dam is now muddy as it is gradually drying up, making it difficult for the farmers to get water for the plants. The tomatoes, which the farmers claim they get between 2,000 and 10,000 cedis per farmer in a season depending on the number of cartons produced, are all withering, while the fruits were also rotting as a result of lack of water to water them. Farmers had to practice mulching to keep moisture and also prevent them from further rot.
With this large acreage, I think we were told that this is the largest garden in Upper West, because we are joined together, our gather gardens, but it's just small, and no water. Presently, if you go there, it's very sad. The water now we are using is mud, not water. It's a very big challenge to us. Some of our children even want to come down here and stay with us, but because there's no water at the dam, we are finding it difficult for us.
The Sisala West District Chief Executive, Bako Zakaria Mohammed, together with some experts, have visited the irrigation facility to see the extent of damage and also look at the dam in order to make recommendations to the government.
We are looking at enhancing farming, that is throughout the year in the northern part of Ghana. And the president says that his feeling is that if we have dams in the major communities, that will enhance the cultivation bit of our people.
Some youth who migrated down south last year have now decided to join the gardening because it is profitable than going to the Kayaye.
And that's how we end news here on NewDay. But for more news updates, you can log on to our website, 3news.com. I'm Josh Quinny. We're going for a quick commercial break. NewDay continues right after this break. Good morning.
Okay, welcome back. So we're going to delve into a very important discussion because there's going to be a colloquium held by the Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana, CLOGSAG, to explain the political neutrality in the civil and local service government, because there has been some confusion over that. And I'm going to be speaking to Mr. Mohammed Salifu Issa, he's a member of CLOGSAG, and also Mr. Isaac Bampo Addo, he's the Executive Secretary for CLOGSAG. Good morning, gentlemen. So let's start off with heading to Supreme Court for interpretation. Where did this all come from? Because in 2015, there was an issue where it wasn't really clear enough as to where CLOGSAG stood and where the government also stood. So can you bridge the gap for us?
First of all, I must state that CLOGSAG, that is Civil and Local Government Staff Association, is a mouthpiece of workers in the civil and local government services. It's a registered trade union. Well, in 2015, just before the district level elections, the then head of local government service issued an instruction based on a code of conduct of the service that no member of the local government service should participate in the district level elections. We at CLOGSAG thought that it was wrong because the district level elections was non-partisan. Therefore, we urge all our members who were interested to participate in that election, and they did. If anybody tried to intimidate them, we're going to strongly come at a person.
Right.
But after that, we then decided to go and seek interpretation at the Supreme Court. Number one, the Political Parties Act, the Code of Conduct of both the Civil and Local Government Service, gives some limitations to members on their participation, partisan activities, which we felt was wrong because the provisions of the Constitution were only limited not to participate as a member of Parliament.
Right.
So we went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court gave its ruling that, well, although it's non-partisan, we're not allowed to be members of the district assemblies. It also gave its ruling that no civil or local government staff should owe its appointment to partisan activities, which means the government also cannot appoint somebody into the institutions based on political activities.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, let me come to you, Mohammed, because government appointing people into the system had been something that transcended even 2015. So at what point did you as a group think that this should stop because it was interfering with your activities?
All right, thank you so very much. Good morning to your cherished viewers. This whole issue of government's appointment is by constitutional requirement. The Constitution allows government to appoint some key officers in the civil and local government services. However, the government or the president specifically is not allowed to do this in a vacuum. So the president is supposed, if you look at even the Constitution, and if you permit me, I will just read a portion of it. It is very clear, very, very clear. Let me just read this. Article 195 clearly states, subject to the provision of this Constitution, the power to appoint persons to hold or act in office in the public services shall vest in the president, acting in accordance with the advice of the governing council of the service concerned, given in consultation with the Public Service Commission. So yes, the president has the power, but the president's power is subject to what? The accordance with the council. For instance, in accordance with the governing council. For instance, we have the civil service, we have the council, civil service council. The local government service also has a council. So the government cannot appoint without prior approval of this. And even over there also, if you go to Act 197, the Public Service Commission may, subject to the approval of the President, make regulations by constitutional instrument for the effective and efficient performance of its functions under this Constitution or any other law. So that is very clear. There should be a constitutional instrument. That we don't have. And for that reason, you can see very clearly where situations where presidents in presidents, or I should say governments in government have tried to take advantage of this appointing opportunity and infiltrate where they are not supposed to be. And that is quite worrying. And this is where we have to make it very clear to the people that, look, we need to have a change. Yeah.
And to add to what Mohammed said, currently we have a situation where even ministers are appointing their own chief directors, which is wrong. It's against the neutrality principle. And as a mouthpiece of our members, we are not going to allow it. If you say we cannot go into partisan activities, then we're also not going to allow you to come into our lane. That's it. We're going to make sure that before you get appointed, the procedures must be followed.
Right. So help us understand what political neutrality, anonymity, and permanence as far as your work is concerned.
All right. Thank you so very much. Let me, before I answer the question, let me throw a bit more light on what the public service is and the civil service. In fact, people have misconstrued the two. we have what we call a wider public service. The public service is made up of various services. For instance, we have the immigration service, the police service, the judicial service, the local government service, the civil service. Now, the issue at hand here, we have several other services. Okay. The issue at hand here is focused on two services, the civil service and the local government service. Okay. Indeed, until recently, the two services were one. But decentralization processes over the past 20 years has brought about the need for the local government service to be seeded from the civil service. Okay. Indeed, the local government service is now made up of the regional coordinating councils, the metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies. They used to be part of the whole civil service arrangement. The civil service is now made up of the ministries and their departments. Right. Yeah. So the issue we are talking about here is focused primarily because the association stands for these two, and that was the issue we took to court. Okay. Now you asked about neutrality. To be able to answer, you have to understand what role or the function the civil service and the local government service performs. Now, we are supposed to assist any government in power to formulate policies, implement policies, and monitor the implementation of these policies. Right. These functions are seen to be very strategic. And because you are to support government in, government out, the principle of neutrality affects you. Okay. So that is very important. You don't have to be seen to be a part of NPP or NDC or PNC because governments can change. So that principle of neutrality affects you there. Anonymity, your role is to assist the government in power. So the credits and everything, whatever it is the government. So you are supposed to remain anonymous over there. Because you keep on serving other governments, permanence should also be there. And that is why you sacrifice your power to participate in partisan politics. So you have to sacrifice that. And that is very important. So this is where this issue of neutrality and other things come in.
Okay, so finally help us understand the implications of the Supreme Court's rulings on, you know, your workers as well as the role of appointing authorities in this.
Well, the implications, as we said, is that our members should be bold to advise on formulation and implementation of policies. You know, we've dubbed this colloquium humility, not timidity.
Right.
So, without any fear, we're going to advise. Okay. When you give the advice, you can take it or leave it. But without any fear, we're going to give the advice.
Right. And so finally, let's talk about the colloquium. Where is it happening? Who's the chairman? Who are the special guest speakers? People invited and all?
All right, so colloquium is coming off tomorrow, 27th at 9 a.m. at the Nitanquao's auditorium at the ministries. Now, a special guest of honor is the Chief of Staff. We've invited her to be the special guest of honor. We hope that our invitation will be fully honored. We also have the Chair of Public Service Commission, Madame Bridget Katreku, who is also going to be the chair for this program. We have very, very wonderful discussants. We have the head of civil service as a discussant. We have the head of local government service as a discussant. We also have a former chief director of Ministry of Communication, who is also coming as a discussant, and also Nana Oye Lita, former Minister, Gender, Children and Social Protection. Other invited guests are our development partners. JICA is coming, European Union is going to be there, Danida is going to be there, and others, a lot. USAID. I mean, we really want them to come, give us the needed support. And push this agenda forward once and for all.
Is it free?
Free.
It's free.
Virtually.
We also have the political parties. We have the NPP, the NDC. Okay. We invited the majority leader, the minority leader, members of parliament. Okay. We're going to have a nice time.
It would certainly will be a nice time at the colloquium.
Indeed, I think the media is going to play a very critical role here. We want your full support. As it's not, we don't want it to be a one-stop shop where just after tomorrow it ends there. It's going to be something continuous. Let me also say that we're going to use the platform to also launch the Clocksack Neutrality Project, which is going to be something that's going to roll out for the next 2 years. To get everybody sensitized on this project.
Right, and on that note, I have been speaking to Mr. Mohammed Salifu Isa, he's a member of CLOSAG, and Mr. Isaac Bampo Ado, he's the Executive Secretary of CLOSAG. And tomorrow, you want to join them at the colloquium as they interpret and help us understand Supreme Court's ruling on political neutrality in civil and local government service. So, guys, we'll be taking daily rants, which is the government's intention to mine bauxite at Atiwa Forest. Let's go out on the streets of Accra as we rant with George.
Nobody here knocking at my door. This is what it feels like.
Government's intention to mine bauxite at Itiwa has been greeted with mixed reactions. Civil society groups and residents of Itiwa have protested vehemently against the intention. And I know the president has come out to say it's for infrastructure development. And so what will make government reverse its intention as against the public outcry? This is Daily Rant. Let's keep talking.
Itiwa Forest, Imana. Yeah. Dabi. And what they mean say was a bank break answer. Munke Kobiti Obuase. In Fasoba and Pan Obuase for Nyefi gold mining. Virtually nothing. Okay. On my year 2 gold room, natural Obuase Koi, Koto Munke Jobek. The 2 gold Jobek, Munke Jobek. Yes, I could 2 bauxite, Sabin Indiano, or Mino, Yen Genius Nessa in Kofa, Comuni Dio. In Kofia, yes, I could form Abba, or move your Mokia near the cop. You may think say Itiwa Forest, no? Ensure near my edge and look at river source safe you or the banner at Dawson. Your best strong one, wait, and go to the form. Sabi, and then we fun, won't drink Chimbana.
I know, sir, safe much president can say we use for infrastructure development. That's not a stomach matter.
They start say you 2 or Tapa and then the environs and for so many hours. So they are still mining it. Then if you maba.
You go to Boxer. Oh, what you want? Yes, young Shaya. Well, my one day, the best sorry. A beer, Sabio, I'm using if cloth. Ever than the best at Tahiri Square. Because Uchi, a Dija, and Yamunana. Now, Ghana produces the best chocolate in the whole world.
Yes, that's
this is said. The Padudo Sen at the end of the year. Omutimi chocolate.
With the farmers.
Now, maybe so Uncle Pressure Minerals Marketing Company. The Padudo Sen Ekoya Waria. A Timmy trumpets, yeah, at the showbiz. Now, as I say, I say bauxite. First of all, Brim, then shoot, Ayensu. They take all their sources from Etiwa Forest. Now, even in Accra alone, a man in Nipa 1 million in Su. So if that is a source of water, now you see a quite saying, Master, 10 years down the line, one share back in Su. Every man on it.
Oh my God, 2050.
Hello. Said, me, I'm getting sick and tired now. I'm tired now because it looks like we don't want to think beyond the box, and our leaders are not trying their best to break their head to find out what we can do to attain this our current situation. And we always want to go the easy way. Let me tell you, there are 2 gold. I will chroma all this while and say, "Oh, Papa," and I'm Papa Bewu. And benefit you be so much. I will bet him at 30%. This is what gold and diamond and even our mineral resources are yet to since a Gokos, Amagana. And we still don't
find it, say yeah. And then the one that is remaining, as if like we are say or China, I don't know who told who. Say we are say or China, we should dissipate all our resources, and tomorrow we will not be alive anymore. I pity our next generation, because what we are doing currently in India, because it looks like say you better trust say I buy and I say in Pennsylvania trust they are doing hardcore with measures, hard policies. Yeah, always cheap way to find our way. That's what we are doing.
Sir John, CEO of Forestry Commission, I know, say they are putting measures in place, so temper should move.
For 1950, now Ghana Benya independent, 57 or beyond. All leaders will find. This is the excuse they will tell the populace. Say you need yeah. And you friend she told no. Upa nako kan tete graphic. Openi bia mejira say me koye we obeka say onim ni obeye. But apparently no, she ni obeye oboa.
Me dem me fi say wi ase we yesua enema koye ni. Enti no emra yet to good. Na yesay ensase. Na sabi yenye sika bia mfirimu ni ehu sika no se de e ko se de esi ba no. Me fi say mpanifo nso omso wade.
Okay.
Because it's like a nipper complaining. In some way, can you know, almost if you understand, your president, try say, for this free education.
Sir Ghana, ye Juma, Yako pension, 1 year about it. That Ben was and you share not you'll be a friend intellectual dishonesty. One more. Should buy a crown. I should be a
president who says it's for infrastructure development. I want to understand infrastructure. Because people say infrastructure. Maybe some make big catcher say, oh, yeah, like you too. Let me finish saying infrastructure. Oh, yeah, in Cape Bianca, building a road. Because masa nyame do kwanim say wotu kwan na bedu koma no afere omanya ye capital on get me nyatwe ye capital de wo say ke focus on it say ye tu oil aya start ye tu sheme say ye scan nya fi mu clear cut policy ben da ho infrastructure ben ye de ye na me twa what infrastructure bi eni wo ye de ye amo achiche scan mu nketenkete en na e ba ne say amu nchendi ne koso no but nkomo ye say bia ye de ye kwan ni nsuo nko a e bia so bia for 4 years and 5 years ye scan nko be bia ye de ye nsuo ene akwan ni ye build road so road a yeah na ya akoye open drainage in the 21st century global na go open drainage e kwa ya na ya got aketwa sabi atans on fi se nipa okoma dodo na adwenye adwuma na se mpanifo am fi se nipa am hwe so ya adwenye adwuma nke ye nye gota hwe wo de wotwa oni ahwe ne ye wo hu sabi ya efe Ghana mpanifo ma hu se omi sabi omi tete wo kwa omi tu kwan me matu kwan me go Japan from Osaka to Tokyo onam soro kwa overhead China, Mikoya, Guangzhou to Fushan, that's about 10 years and no multi pillars. A stroke. That's why I'm quite a gusso, or canam so. Dabana, I think it's harder. Yeah, quaya. Yeah, quaya, not yet. Kotala Begusso, a book, a gusso. Resource, yeah, China, Nibi, Dubai, Nibi.
Yes. Countries are policy in the next 10 years. This is where we want to get. Yeah, plans. Infrastructure. What Sanyan PPR, NDC, and PPR. I dear Kurana, obedience, I be a basson or a Benyamin Fasson about wire ground. Because and you're not Basan was you know. Open it on the Sir. Boss, I don't go to it way. You're maybe a 2 box at war. A friend say, Awaso. Amo, and deeply, they are still doing it. But you guys believe in the, Ghana beyond policy. You guys, yes, I believe in it. So if you believe in this,
yes, if I believe in it, it's me. So you believe in something, you have to think. And yet about resources, Japan need resources, or the human mind, and I build Japan only resources. Until you have to get people who think.
Master, there's a complete intellectual dishonesty. Young penny for any big school, then nursery, our butcher, and even some of them in the parliament. And the Omoko honor, and you can't apply it here. What do you say? Ghana beyond 8. the payment. Nanti and Nimusha. Jen, member country with South Africa. Almost over 2 goats, sir. And when we talk of proper alluvial gold, it is mine in Ghana. When we are talking of quantity, and in South Africa, almost population, you're saying, your population, you're saying, that South Africa, if my memory will serve me right, they give them what we call transfer payment, unemployment benefit. Gold, bauxite, manganese, one plan or say, go to the heritage farm.
So let's say you get the equipment to mine it. Are you okay?
No, let's also think about the land degradation. No, Master, let us be very careful about this. Land degradation.
Gentlemen, this calls for planning. So if I have some bauxite sitting somewhere and it is for the use of Ghana, I will say we mortgage it against direct project. I will support it because I know by the time I lose that bauxite, this will be in place and it will be able to benefit the nation yet on board. And what we are doing now, we are eating all the cake and tomorrow we have nothing. Okay, sure. I know the civil society groups, this are Rocha and a resident of Itiwa, they embarked on a protest march, 95 kilometers. What do you really convince governments? Okay, I will not, mind this bauxite because they are protesting also.
And the process, when we get to the big oak tree, you best share near home. No do no one share, no one here. The next time we catch up and answer the simian queen in our home. That is the problem. Because 61 years down the line, that's why we will not go that way again. When you're the baby. When there's a clear-cut policy, when you're the young man, it is the Master, they'll continue to protest till don't come.
Government intention to mine bauxite at Itiwa is needed. That's according to the public. Let's know your thoughts on this. Just log on to our social media platforms. On Facebook, it's News on TV3, and on Twitter, it's a News TV3. We keep you from Circle here at Accra. Thanks for watching, and keep watching NewDay.
What are we talking about today?
Welcome back and thank you very much. Let's get straight to the newspapers. And the Daily Statement says Professor Quartey protest statement story on Unibank, raging polemics over U.S.-Ghana military cooperation, NDC hypocrisy exposed by similar 1997-1998 documents. Ghana to lead tech education, President Akufo-Addo says so. The Business Day says accommodation crisis hits Ghana's house and land prices spiral out of control. The Finder says despite public debt stock hitting 142.5 billion cedis, debt to GDP ratio drops to 69.8%, and minority concern over expenditure for non-budgeted projects. 300 million waste to energy power plant for Tema. And the Economic Times says public debt now stands at 142 billion cedis. It comes with a photograph of the governor of the Bank of Ghana. The BNFT says the broken dreams many Ghanaians want out of country, according to a survey. And the Gold Street Business says container disinfection scientifically grounded cost arrangement for favors imports. And the Independent has a screaming banner headline that says we want to make Ghana a leading country in TVET delivery in Africa. President Akufo-Addo and CRD to equip personnel with expertise to fight crime. How? We'll tell you. The Ghanaian Times finally says government restores education, teacher trainee allowances, and Akakope corn flour meal tragedy. 2 arrested. Deal with bonking teachers, according to the appeal court judge. We'll tell you more about that. But I've been joined by my 2 discussants for this morning. Eric Chung is the number 2 man at the Ghana Export Promotion Center. Eric, welcome. Good morning. How are you doing?
How are you?
Very well. Felix Ofosu-Kwakye is a former Deputy Minister for Communications and is also a member of the NDC's communication team. So is Eric. Felix, welcome. Good morning.
Thank you.
I like your pink tie. It's iconic. Let's get straight into the conversations. And the president says over the weekend, in fact, the vice president also pressed the same knob that we want to make Ghana the hub for technical and vocational training. It's been on the front burner for a long time. And people have had their own set of challenges with how, sadly, polytechnics have been metamorphosed into technical universities, and yet they are doing more of humanities. Eric, I'll start with you. Is this something we must, you know, applaud and say yes, in spite of all the bottlenecks we have on the ground?
Well, good morning to you, and then good morning to the viewers out there, and then to Felix too. I mean, I think that for time immemorial, we have all known that it's important that we focus a little bit more on TVET. Just that, I don't think that we've had a concerted strategy or a long-term strategic framework to enable that to work. Now, with the advent of technology and the excuse me, with a new set of skills that you require to make a modern day environment, it's important that that part of education is actually taken into focus. And that's exactly what the president is saying. Now, if you look at countries that have been able to develop and industrialize to a certain degree, you'd then find out that there's a clear correlation between technical and vocational education and that developmental transformation. So it was important that we relook at it. And I'm happy that the commitment is that the Ministry of Education would have one of the deputies solely responsible for technical and vocational education. Now, if you find yourself in an environment where we want to, for instance, initiate a one district, one factory policy, and I'm sure other industries would come along the way, along the value chain. It's important that you're sure that you would have the necessary skills to be able to do that. Now, I think that we've also suffered from an area of perception. So, for instance, back in the day, if anybody decides that they want to go delve into technical education, then it's assumed that they are actually the dumb ones. They're not the really smart ones. But I think that we need to move away from that perspective.
How is this government doing that?
No, to bring focus to the situation and also be able to give students or individuals or even parents a clear path as to where you would be able to go with that. So I traveled to a few places where even your ordinary carpenter is able to use the computer to be able to generate designs and all of those things. Will be able to use just simple Corel Draw and other things too. AutoCAD, and if you are a draftsman or a mason or whatever, all of these things are technical things and vocational stuff that you can now adopt technology to be able to do so. Now, what's the difference between, for instance, your ordinary, let's say, seamstress and somebody who's a designer who's able to get their designs onto a global fashion stage, for instance? It's a little skill.
These things, you see, Eric, these things are said over and over again, but on the ground and in those technical universities or polytechnics, whichever we want to call it, you have the admissions going in favor of the humanities.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
And so then
it's not so
beyond the proclamation. What is the flow plan?
This government's policy is not meant to start from the technical university. It's meant to start from the second cycle institutions, from the vocational technical SHSs, right? And what it does is that it gives you the grounding to be able to move into that direction. So, for instance, not everybody would get an opportunity, for instance, to go into any of the technical universities. However, you're able to get some sort of training that would initially inure to you being able to be trainable to start with. Now, apart from giving you some sort of entrepreneurial edge, you can also go into mainstream industry by working. So there are people, like last time I gave an example of a schoolmate of mine who after school, secondary school, went through ATTC, did some aeronautical engineering course at ATTC, which I was never aware. Now she's actually building planes for Boeing. She's in the US.
Right.
You understand? So you need to be able to give a clear sense of direction in terms of there's a path for you. If you want to go the academic route, there's still a path for you. If you want to essentially become self-employed, for instance, an entrepreneur, there's a path for you. If you want to train middle-level managers and skilled workers for our industry, there's a path there. So that is really the focus. So if you take countries like Germany, for instance, and some of the Scandinavian countries, entrepreneurship and apprenticeship training and everything goes hand in hand. And it starts from the second cycle institutions.
Right.
So
And that's what this government wants to do.
Exactly. So that's why the president has shown a commitment that
beginning when are we starting this?
To start with, the students who would be going into the technical and vocational schools are going to benefit from the free SHS policy. Right. Again, there's going to be a dedicated, focused minister who will deal with the issues along that sector. I've heard that even going forward, there's going to be an opportunity for some kind of decoupling of the mainstream education sector and the vocational sector, so that there's more emphasis and focus on that. Now we have a plethora of opportunities when it comes to that. We have a huge opportunity for agribusiness, for people to go into technical and vocational expertise that would inure to us in our industry. Now, all of these things that we are wearing today, except Felix, for
they were all made by technical people.
Locally, I'm talking about locally. So you have, I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Have you checked this label to know whether it was all made by grandpa or somebody like that?
Ferragamo or something, actually. But the point really is simple, that even these things that we are wearing today, you're able to elevate the person who is making it from just a mere dressmaker or seamstress or whatever to somebody who can actually make a sustainable business out of it. But you need certain sort of training. So you need some level of expertise. For instance, from where I sit, you get the practitioners in the fashion, apparel and garment sector coming to you and saying that, I mean, the market is there, the market exists, especially when it comes to AGOA and all of those things. The challenge is that we don't have enough people who are trained in the sector to be able to take advantage of all these opportunities. So there's a whole host of places that which we can take advantage of if we focus on that.
Felix, let me bring you in here, and this is not the first time we're hearing something like that. I remember that President Mahama said similar stuff. President Mills as well, President Kufuor, President Rawlings has said same as well. But then we'll continue to have expatriates come into our country. Look at this, the glamorous Circle Interchange, for example. All the top people there who were controlling affairs were not Ghanaians. And that's not the first. I mean, most of our organizations and the rest, you find where technical expertise is really, really needed. You find just a handful of our own people there. How do we shift the paradigm? Will this do that?
Well, again, I am increasingly becoming wary of the rhetoric that emanates from this government, especially by the president and to some extent the vice president. I'm inclined to believe that there's simply too much talk. And it is about time that they go down to actual work and delivered the goods. Now, you said that President Mahama and President Mills engaged in similar discussions and made similar pronouncements. Well, that is not entirely accurate. I can tell you for a fact that President Mahama did not engage in talk. He engaged in concrete action. Indeed, in 2000,
renaming the polytechnics.
No, that was just to give it some additional focus.
But then nothing has changed since then.
Well, it is not. If you allow me,
secretariatship and marketing.
Well, if you allowed me to,
because you said it's not entirely correct.
Yes, but I'm going to show you why it is not entirely correct. President Mahama launched a program called the Development of Skills for Industries Program. Project. Yes, it was worth $124 million. Now, the amount involved was used to do many things. Amongst them was to upgrade the technical institutes that existed in this country to a level where they can train people and give them the sort of expertise that you are lamenting that we lack as a country. So he went ahead and did it. And he actually put money into the upgrading of those institutes. And if you would indulge me, you go to places like the Accra Polytechnic, the Pando Technical Institute, the then Takrady Polytechnic, and other places. There were about 13 of them in all, in which he sank money to ensure that the facilities exist, the equipment exists, the curricula is developed, and the teaching faculty enhanced in order that knowledge will be imparted. It didn't stop there. Under President Mills, we launched what we call the Skills Development Fund. And out of that, I know that at least about 650 craftsmen and associations that dealt with handicrafts and technical work, welders, those who fabricate metals and what have you. They benefited from this 50 million package. And indeed, there is actually a report that details the number of additional jobs that were created, the levels of productivity that were achieved, and all the other gains that were made. So, in answer to your question about what took place practically beyond the talk, that is the evidence that I have given you. I have a document that I can share with you subsequently that you can study fully in order to break it down for the benefit of your listeners. But it does not appear to me like that is what we are witnessing.
Why so?
Well, there's been a lot of talk on many fronts, and very little seems to have happened. The talk does not appear to be backed by any discernible program. If you look at their whole policy structure, it is so defective and deficient that it appears to me that they don't really grasp the enormity of the problem that we are confronted with. There's too much sloganeering, that they throw words about and believe that merely throwing those words about will cause the change or transformation that we all desire. And that is exceedingly worrying. Look at the whole educational structure. Here's a government that comes into power and somehow believes that the only level of education that matters is the senior high school level.
It's a starting point, that's what they say.
It is not a starting point. The starting point of education is the basic level. Indeed, there are close to 1.5 million children in basic school today. If you come to the senior high school level, there are about 800,000. There are tens of thousands of students at the tertiary level. Even at the technical and vocational level, there are thousands of people who require attention. But this government has only identified one rung of the educational ladder and wants to channel all its resources there to the neglect of other sectors. Go to a typical public basic school today and see the horrendous conditions under which these children live. Indeed, I watched a clip, and your station does a good job of going around to expose some of these bottlenecks. I watched a clip where there were about 3 or 4 benches, not even desks, that children between the ages of 3 and 4 were struggling to sit on. So depending on how swift you were, you will get a bench, not a desk, to sit on. And the rest were left to their fate. The other had to sleep on their bellies to write or sit on the bare floor. That is the state of basic education in this country. Even at the SHS level, where they say there's free SHS and they are pumping resources and all that. Look at the horrible conditions under which these children live.
How does that feed into
But I'm making a point. Is it what you do is that you must have a comprehensive educational system.
Right.
With each sector of the system fitting in perfectly with the other. So that you don't have isolated sectors where you pay, if you like, an overwhelming amount of attention to and neglect the others. Look at tertiary education at this moment. Only last week it emerged that the University of Ghana cannot even afford to pay salaries because government has not released subventions to them. So in the last 3 months, they have had to borrow. The processing
was delayed, that's what was said.
Well, the circular that was put out was clear. In the last 3 months, the university has had to borrow to pay. So this month, they said they are unable to continue with that.
Right.
And so lecturers or teaching and non-teaching staff would have to wait a while because government subvention has not come. That means that the money that government needs to give them has not come. So if you run an educational sector in such a disjointed, incoherent fashion, one is not likely to have any confidence when leaders of this government, the president and vice president, go out making pronouncements. When we came into power, We identified what the problems were, and we tackled each sector of the educational system.
Did you solve their problems?
Of course, nobody proposed anywhere that we came in and solved all the problems. But we approached it in a very systematic, pragmatic way.
Let me ask you, Felix, for example, if you changed the nomenclature of the Accra Polytechnic into the Accra Technical University, what else
changed? We didn't change the nomenclature. Indeed, when the president launched the technical universities concept, the first one was at Takoradi.
Right.
At that program, he opened an ultra-modern workshop for that university, stocked with state-of-the-art equipment. He did same at Koforidua.
I'm saying that
and so
those investments are appreciable.
Absolutely.
But I'm saying that to the extent that the admissions, even as of last year or the year before that, continues to have marketing, continues to have...
Well, you are talking about curricular development. That is, you see...
So then,
of course,
what was the direction that was given to...
The direction, but you see, the reason why these institutes are compelled to take on people in the arts, and not that there's anything wrong with marketing or any other subject for that matter, that does not relate to...
They should go to IPS and do marketing.
No, but you ought to be sensitive to the choice of those who decide to go into that area, so that we don't create, if you like, an unintended impression that we disregard their contribution to national development.
No, nobody is saying that.
The point is that the reason why these technical institutes or technical universities are compelled to take on students like that is that they don't get adequate funding to put into purely technical education. So they have to, if you like, complement their resources
IGF.
With the monies that they raise from taking on students from other branches. Because the investments, but
you see,
the investments there,
the
investments there are not as heavy as you would require to do purely technical courses. You and I know that buying equipment to furnish a laboratory is a pretty expensive endeavor. It is not the same as providing a blackboard or, if you like, a projector screen and having lecture notes dictated on them and all that. So in order to shift focus, you need to give them what they have been lacking. And that is precisely what the Mahama administration did when it began the technical education, the technical university concept. But we didn't just do that. We went a step lower and equipped the technical institute, because they don't get to the level of universities. They may have left basic school and branched into technical or vocational education. They didn't go to the regular senior high school. And yet, all this while they had been neglected, and an impression created that it is those who are not academically sound who branch into those areas.
Eric spoke about
exactly,
it.
But they possess, some of them possess skill that is vital for national development. And so we invested in that, and we cut back on the talk. So there's nothing wrong with espousing a vision to develop TVET. I heard him say that one of the deputy ministers of education will be given sole responsibility for overseeing the TVET sector. That is okay. But if you put a figurehead at the ministry in charge of TVET, and you don't put in the investments that are required because you are constrained in the way that you distribute or allocate resources in the educational sector, you are going to have difficulties. Again, go to the budget. Go to the budget. You see, when they speak about developing education, you need to do the assessment in a manner that proves or disproves the claim. The best way to look at government's intention and its ability to deliver what it promises is the budget. Go to the annexes of the budget. Check the educational sector. Check how much money was allocated to free SHS. It was 1.1 billion Ghana cedis. Indeed, it was added to the budget of the Office of the President. A very strange arrangement, if you ask me. Now, if you come to what they call CAPEX, or capital expenditure, that is what tells you whether or not government is in a position to provide the things that I have spoken about. They gave the entire educational sector.
I thought you were going to give me an opportunity.
200. They gave the entire educational sector.
No, it's not 20 minutes. Eric, Felix, wrap up for me.
They gave the entire educational sector 200 million Ghana cedis in capex. And if you consider the fact that not all budgetary allocations get released, you'll be lucky if you get about 60% of your allocation. 200 million Ghana cedis is woefully inadequate to tackle the needs of basic education alone, let alone senior high school, technical education.
Point well made. Eric,
so they must back the talk.
Eric,
with concrete
it's just there's too much talk. And
no, but you see, I think that Felix really has done a disservice to the viewers out there.
Why are you
It's just
saying that?
simple, because it looks like he hasn't even taken time to either apprise himself with what the president said and what has actually been going on. Now, I'll break it down. There's a 5-year strategic policy covering the TVET sector, where basically all the various institutions will now be coming under the education ministry, right? Because you find out that in time past, you've had institutions that were being essentially superintended over by different other institutions, right, which was actually not bringing a more coherent, if you like, focus on that particular side of our education. And then the idea is that that 5-year strategic policy is meant to now look at and realign.
When is that starting?
Now.
Now.
Right? To realign the curricula. And then also, the president has stated categorically that 20 new institutions would be built across the country, whilst the remaining 35 would actually be retooled, right, resourced to take advantage of that.
Right.
Again, you're looking at a situation where all the students who will go into this thing would benefit from that free SHS policy that we've indicated. You understand? Now, you see, when Feli speaks like this, and someone sitting at home will be wondering, so, I mean, this guy's left power just about a year ago, right? And all of these things that he's saying, right, were not in place. Now, to start with, this whole idea that the mere mention of a policy or a strategic initiative of government is mere rhetoric. It's neither here nor there, because the facts on the ground speaks to a government that has actually fulfilled its promises. The president, during the period to the 2016 elections, made mention of the fact that there was going to be free SHS and he was going to be committed to it. And as I speak to you today, 90,000 and more students who hitherto wouldn't have had an opportunity to have an advantage of going to free second cycle institutions are in secondary schools.
Felix says, let's start from the basics. Let's go to basic school.
But you see, when he made when he makes mention of these things, right? I don't like to do these things because basically sometimes it creates the impression that we are, if you like, trying to equalize.
Is that not a genuine question?
No, but you see, we are in this country where a certain second lady went to one of these institutions in somewhere in the eastern region, I think it's Kukwentumi or something, where the teachers were actually demanding that they give them a mere chalk, which is probably the most basic thing that you need in a classroom. And that, guess what happened? You remember that story? Recently, before the 2016 elections, the vice president found himself in somewhere in the upper west region, where I think it was somewhere in Wa, where the students were actually lying on
no desk
and everything. They were actually lying on the floor. And guess what? He had to come in and actually donate some desks to these students. Guess what happened? Instead of government feeling, if like responsible, right, and ashamed that they have been able to degenerate our education sector to that levels, they actually were taking the headmistress to task. Now, so all these examples, this plethora of examples that he is giving, happen under their watch. And this government is committed to making sure that we improve our education sector.
Can I ask a quick question, Eric, regarding free SHS? So, free SHS is supposed to handle the second cycle institutions. There are institutions like Hannah Girls and all those vocational schools which will fall within the
exactly. So that is why
those people in the last year of implementation of free SHS were neglected.
Yeah, but that's why
so
now,
if you didn't get a chance to go to Wesley Girls or to St. Mary's or to Hotcast or any school like that to do home economics where you could learn to bake or sew,
that is why
you will be ignored.
That is why this policy is bringing sanity to the whole sector, that aspect of it, whereby all the institutions are going to be actually superintended over by the ministry, if you like, GES, where a minister a deputy minister is going to be solely responsible for that area.
Right.
Again, the policy is meant to realign and redesign the curricula to make it fit for purpose for modern.
And you say it starts now.
It starts now.
Right.
And then I'm saying
do we have the money to push it? Do we have the money to push it?
You see, this conversation about do we have the money to push it and all of those things boils down to having a political role as well. And I'm saying that if you want to judge the president based on promises that he has made in the education sector, let alone other things that we can talk about if you want, and the commitment to do this, the commitment is there. And we have stated categorically that we want Ghana to be, if you like, the trailblazer, right, when it comes to TVET education in Africa. And we want to emulate the best. So we're talking about Germany and all of those things. So for him to sit here, I would have expected for him to have waited, right, or bided his time to a point where he would say that, okay, you said this, you said that, you said that, you are not able to do it. It is not. It is not. It is not. It is not.
Let's move on now.
It's imperative that
Felix, I beg you. Let's.
I mean, he's happy.
It is not.
No, but he started.
But Felix, I gave you a lot of time.
Give me just.
You had 20 minutes to explain
a lot of time.
You see, again, it is important as a government spokesperson or communicator. Our government, and he's a senior government official. He works in an important government agency. That when we speak to the people, we show them respect and we show regard for their intellect. When the president, the vice president, ministers, and other government officials see that, but for PSHS, 90,000 students would not have had opportunity to enter the senior high school system, and they don't provide evidence to back it. It creates a difficulty. Look, what they have done, let me tell you what they've done. They looked at the enrollment figures.
That is what he
I beg your pardon, please. I didn't interrupt you when we were speaking. It doesn't help.
It's okay, Felix.
Right,
in the 2015-2016 academic year, they simply looked at how many students were enrolled. Then they looked at 2017-2018 academic year. Or better, so 2016-2017 academic year, and then 2017-2018 academic year. Then they look at the difference, 90,000, and then they say that the 90,000 additional students who have come in because of free SAs.
Is it not because of how much they pushed into it?
Let me debunk that for you. There's a report called the Education Sector Performance Report. It is a government report. Every year it is produced. It is on the website of the Ministry of Education or the Ghana Education Service. You can access it. You will find that at least in the last 10 years, on the average, there has been an increase of about 50,000 in enrollment every year. Indeed, in the 2011, 2012, and 2012-2013 academic years, there was an increase of 89,000 students in enrollment. At the time, there was no free SHS. So it is a function of population growth and increasing numbers at the basic level. So whilst I do not dismiss the impact of free SHS and how it allows others who may not have the means to go to school, it is important that you don't throw about numbers in a manner that seeks to mislead the public. Just say that there has been an increase in enrollments.
But they can't say the figure.
So what accounted for the 89,000 increments between 2012 and 2013? There was no free SHS at the time. And 89,000 is just 1,000 short of 90,000. So the point I seek to make is that when they implement policy and they communicate around it, they add too much embellishment such that the impact of the policy is actually lost. And it makes it let's move on, it causes debate because it does not allow us to look at the issues. Why? He speaks about chalk. That was not
we're done. Thank you very much.
What is the state
the
of
Daily Graphic on page 3 says the public debt stock rises, but still within government projections. And the public debt stock has risen from 1 to 2.6 billion cedis in December 2016 to 142.5 billion in December 2017. The new figure is equivalent to 69.8% of the country's total economic output, measured by gross domestic GDP product. I beg your pardon. The latest statistics on the debt means that some 19.9 billion has been added to the public debt within the past 12 months. That data released by the Bank of Ghana ahead of bank's monetary policy committee press conference today show that 78.5 billion of the current debt stock was external or foreign debt, while the remaining 66.7 billion was domestic debt borrowing from the domestic financial market. Eric, I'll start with you. These were the things that Dr. Bawumia said was incompetent, and within a year the figures keep shooting up. Must we be scared?
That is not true. That is essentially
the Bank of Ghana is not saying.
No, that is like a total fallacy. That is not what Dr. Bawumia was talking about.
He said our debt is rising.
Yes, but then it has to. You have to
incompetent management of the economy.
You have to situate that into a particular context.
Which context?
And the context is very simple.
Tell me.
So, if you're talking about the fact that a government comes into power and decides that we would have to use our renewed credit rating and standing and the confidence that the international community or even the business community have had in this economy just over a year to decide to basically retire our debts over a certain period so that we would be able to, if like, rationalize our debt, especially when at a point the interest payments alone was basically causing a lot of defect or even a lot of damage to our ability to do the basic things. Right, you should be applauding that government.
Professor Quartey is Professor Quartey is quoted here. He's a professor of economics at the Institute of Statistical and Social Economics research. He says that I thought with all the debt restructuring, reprofiling, and all those things, the debt to GDP will be coming down. But if it's going up, then of course there should be a cause for concern. He mentions, says we must be cautious about accumulating new debt.
As I speak to you today, the debt to GDP ratio is coming down, right? So for all intents and purposes, the economy has grown. Ghana is in line. Last year, 2017, was the fastest growing economy in the world. This year, as we speak, 2018, it's not going to be any different.
19.9 billion is what we owe within the past 12 months.
But that's, you have to basically situate that into what we came to inherit. And I'm saying to you for a fact that all the things that especially when it comes to the bonds, right, that were released, was meant to go in there, right, and basically retire some of the old debts that we had incurred. And so that in terms of interest payments and all of this, you'd be able to basically push it forward so that it doesn't bring untoward hardships to the people of this country. That's exactly what, and for me, I'm not an economist, but if that is prudent management of an economy, to be able to make sure that you leave some room, some fiscal space.
Must we be scared? Must we be scared?
For investment into the economy. I don't think that we have to be scared at all.
If we have Ghana Beyond Aid,
if you give you an opportunity to speak.
No, I'm asking. Right. I need to ask. If a question. It's not a press conference. I need to ask a question. Okay, so I'm asking. First, must we be scared? Two, we have a Ghana Beyond Aid agenda. Will this in any way impact it? If, for example, eroding investor confidence?
No, not at all. But everything shows. All the indices that you would have to look at when it comes to economic performance shows that this economy is on the up. Right, as we speak, in 2016, right, the economy grew at 3.2%. That is the lowest it has grown in the last 20 years. Then 2017, MPP government takes over, we grew at 7.2%. If you want to drill down into the various sectors, in terms of manufacturing, in terms of agriculture, in terms of the service sector and all of those things, you realize that there was an exponential increase in almost all of these sectors. That is basically boils down to prudent management of the economy. Apart from that, I'm saying to you that if you look at all the various indicators, interest rates, right, as we speak today, the treasury bill rate is hovering around 13.2%.
Right.
Inflation is coming down, right? Is that not the case? we have all of these things. We are even projecting of FDI. Today, I was listening to your figure. This year alone, the investment that is going to come in through the GIPC alone is going to increase exponentially. That shows, indicates clearly that the business community, the investor community have a renewed confidence in our economy. As I speak to you today, Standard & Poor's, right, have maintained their credit rating and even given us a positive outlook. You understand? So these are the things that you need to put in place. And we are doing all of these things against the backdrop of investing huge amounts into the free SHS. But the YD1F is kicking in. All of these things are kicking in even when we've had an opportunity.
But right? Eric, is it not also true that if our debt keeps rising, we would have to spend more in trying to service those debt, and by extension, those monies that we source from outside will eventually be used to
but the point is it's also true, and I'm sure Felix will attest to it. It's also true that even the rate at which we were borrowed under the NDC administration and then today has reduced. And I was listening to the finance minister, and he says that, listen, it's important that we take advantage of the renewed confidence in the Ghanaian economy, right, to be able to retire some of these debts that basically at the point where almost about 50 or so % of all the monies, the revenues that were accruing to the economy was going into interest payments, right? So it was important that you restructure.
So you say this is a better situation?
Yes, you leave room, fiscal space for us to do so. And again, the debt to GDP ratio has reduced by virtue of the fact that the economy itself has expanded. And I'm saying that whilst you're doing all of these things, it's important that you also look at all the attendant complementary policies in place. So there's an agricultural Marshall Plan, the Planting for Food and Jobs, which done extremely well. Government has now yes. Government has now gotten an opportunity to refocus on planting what do you call it, cash crops. So we are doing investment in cashew, in coconut, in all of those things, which is going to boost the economy over a period. Focusing on not just exporting in a raw state, but adding value before we do so. All of these things.
Right? So if you're into that area.
So if you're looking at it, I'm saying that in the 8-year period under NDC, they can tell us the direct, specific direct interventions that they did along these things, and there's none. Now,
but that's why the Ghanaians voted for you, because they wanted change.
Exactly my point.
Why
Even when they set up this botched Commander Sugar Factory, right? Just one factory. The NDC commentator included
Kofi to equalize.
No, it's not by Kofi. It's on track as we speak.
You're planting with the factory.
No, but it's a process. The plant will be giving them 1.5 million suckers of pineapple.
So by the time the fruits are ripe,
yes,
the factory,
the factory will be up and doing. It doesn't take long to put that up. Right. But I'm saying that even when they went to Kumasi to set up that shoe factory, right, and they defunct, now we are trying to revitalize the Commander Sugar Factory. They said that that factory alone, the Commander Sugar Factory alone, was meant to transform this economy. But the reality is that you have a government that has shown commitment to having at least one factory in each district. So what, just clear, so if you're going by that logic.
Where are the factories?
But as I speak to you, but it doesn't, you're not expecting that within a year you have factories.
But you're just telling me
that. But I am telling you that
by the time the fruits at Ekofi are
yes,
the factory will be there.
Yes.
And if we couldn't put up the factory in a year,
within
3-4 months,
how do you?
It takes 21 days for concrete to cure.
No. But you're looking at it from a perspective of bricks and mortar.
Okay.
Right? You have to put your machinery in place and assemble it. It doesn't take more than 14 days for that to happen.
But I have my experience of following my father to the site. I know that it takes 21 days for concrete to cure.
But the point is that we didn't want to make the same mistakes that the NDC made, whereby they put a sugar factory there, came and told the whole populace that the factory was up and running. They managed to find some sugar, and then the moment that thing happened, with all the razzmatazz and the fanfare and everything, as I speak to you today, that factory has not been able to produce. And I say to you, you can check that Ghana Export Promotion Authority, right, in support of the one district, one factory, right, has given the Akonfi juice factory.
Okay.
1.5 million suckers of pineapple, sold Cayenne pineapple. That is going to feed that industry.
Okay.
You understand? That is a step. As we speak, there are other attendant outgrowers who are connected to it. But I'm saying this in relation to
the growth of the
economy.
growth
Of the economy. And I'm saying that this is a government that has shown commitment to intervene directly along the value chain. Right?
So we shouldn't be scared
the president launched a 10-year cashew development plan. Right? There are plans on the way to set up a board and all of those things to diversify, even our exports, add value, and all of those things. And I'm saying to you that if you add all of these things, low interest rates, falling inflation, reduction in inflation numbers, increased confidence in the economy, and all of these things together, that shows an economy that is on a right trajectory.
Right. Felix, the public debt stock is rising. Experts are worried, but the government says it's still within its projections. And you have heard Eric say that, well, there's no cause for worry. Everything is sorted.
Well, Eric is a member of the government. I don't expect that he would criticize his own government. But the point is that there's no excuse for how the MPP has borrowed. It is simply a mark of crass incompetence. Period.
But you borrowed too.
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. You see, Eric, I beg you. I hope that you will not.
No, Eric, allow him to.
No, but I have interjection, so I'm not allowed to.
Dr. Baumia, this is what he had to say. I worked at the Bank of Ghana, and so I know that Ghana is rich. It is because the managers of the economy are incompetent, and so all what they think of is borrowing. The MPP he voted for will harness resources in Ghana to develop Ghana. I am telling you, we can develop Ghana without borrowing. The money is there. Interestingly enough, our public debt, in terms of the real figures, was missing in the President's State of the Nation address this year. It was also missing in the Finance Minister's budget statement. However, it was present in last year's State of the Nation address and the Finance Minister's budget last year, because it had just come. What was the figure? 122 billion Ghana cedis as of the end of December 2017. As of December 2016, as of December 2017, it had ballooned to 142 billion Ghana cedis, and that is just December 2017. In the last 3 months, that's the first quarter of this year, they have borrowed heavily. Only last week, Parliament approved a $2.5 billion Eurobond. In Ghana cedi terms, that is about 11 billion Ghana cedis.
No cause for worry.
I beg your pardon. In addition to that, there's another. I beg your pardon. I will explain and debunk that falsehood that you peddle about the loan. In addition to this 11 billion, there was another 500 million Ghana cedis, which they call what? SDN, Special Depository Notes or something. And then there were a whole raft of loans. In addition to that, mind you, this 142 billion does not add the 4.7 billion Ghana cedis that they borrowed under the energy bonds.
Okay.
If you add all of this, by the end of this quarter, our debt should reach about 160 billion Ghana cedis, which would be an addition of close to 40 billion Ghana cedis. Let me put it in context for you. In all the 8 years that the NDC was in power, we added 87 billion Ghana cedis to our debt. In just 1 year, 1.5 years, this government has added 40 billion Ghana cedis to the debt. Half of what we added in 8 years. Dr. Baumia says...
You said they're trying to pay your debts.
I beg your pardon. If you pay the debt won't rise. It is illogical for them to go about making that claim. I've heard the Vice President say it. I've heard the President say it. I've heard the Finance Minister say it. I've heard Eric say it. How is it that you are paying down debt and the debt is rising?
But you know that...
Let me make my point.
He understands.
You see, I don't understand.
I beg you.
It is you people who are...
Eric, I beg you.
Who go out there...
You would have a right to
deliberately mislead the public. Okay? Borrowing to pay maturing debt is nothing new. When we were in power, we did it all the time. Many of the Eurobonds that we raised was done so that we could pay off maturing debt. If you do that, you will only replace the debt. For instance, you owe 1 billion Ghana cedis. It is, you are paying the interest through your regular local resource mobilization efforts. But the principal matures today. So before it matures, you go and borrow 1 billion Ghana cedis and pay off. I owe Eric 100 million Ghana cedis. Before it matures, I come to you, Johnny, to take 100 million Ghana cedis, and I pay Eric. When I do that, my debt will be 100 million Ghana cedis. It will not increase.
Right.
If you look at the Eurobond that they raised or the sought approval for only last week, Thursday or Friday, the finance minister's own documents to Parliament said 1.5 billion of that will be used to pay maturing debt, and the 1 billion that is left will be used to finance the budget. That is Eric, please. Why do you dispute what is factual? Please, Eric, don't.
Please,
I beg your
to
pardon.
finance the budget
Please,
on
please.
what score, in what sector?
So
it doesn't matter.
Look,
it matters.
Look.
He made specific.
I beg your pardon. Look. Please.
Felix, don't
Please,
relax,
don't do
relax,
that.
relax.
When you were speaking, I kept quiet. I beg your pardon.
Relax.
When you are financing the budget, it means that you are borrowing. So that will go onto your public debt. That's the point I seek to make. What you do to it with it is immaterial. In any event, when President Obama borrowed, he didn't put it in his pocket. He didn't buy chinga with it to eat.
That's harsh.
No, but so why does it?
That's
no,
harsh.
so why does it then tell me
no, that's harsh.
No, it's not harsh. The point I seek to make is that they create the impression that borrowing is new and that it is the first time that somebody has borrowed to finance a budget or pay off debt. It is a regular activity. When you borrow to finance your budget, it simply means that domestic revenue is not enough to meet your expenditure. So you are borrowing to make up for the shortfall so that you finance the budget. The budget you take to Parliament is simply an estimation of how much revenue you expect and how much you spend.
But in all this, I mean, Eric is telling us that it doesn't affect
anything. How does it not affect anything? Our debt, listen,
Ghana Beyond Aid is on.
How does it affect?
Planting for food and jobs.
When we borrowed, it affected something. When they borrow, because they have gold running through their veins, it doesn't affect anything. No, what are they talking about? I beg your pardon. You know what that means for us? No. It means our debt has increased. It means that the portion of our revenue that we use to service debt will go up. That is what it means. It means that we are getting to a HIPIC threshold. Look, they mischievously use end of December figures to calculate the debt to GDP ratio. You understand me? He says that the economy has expanded. Ask him how that came about. They knew nothing of it. It was because we had additional oil just at the time they came in. The Economist Intelligence Unit, the World Bank, the IMF, all of them predicted in the middle of 2016 that because of the Sankofa and 10 fields, we were going to have additional oil, and that was going to swell our GDP.
Is it also not true that what they say that look, the economy was in complete tatters, and they are trying to bring it up?
I am demolishing that falsehood. He speaks about inflation and makes it seem as if it is the first time inflation was falling. In January 2016, inflation was 19%. By December, it had come to 15.4%. Indeed, he should read the finance minister's budget presented in 2017. The finance minister acknowledges that in treasury bill rates, it moved from 24% to 16% by the end of December 2016. He can check the finance minister's budget again. He can check the trade balance. The finance minister spoke about it. The growth rate, it is influenced by oil production. It was predicted almost 6 months before they came into power. Even the 2019 growth was predicted then. He says that the business environment has improved and there's more confidence in our economy. Yet, in November 2016, we moved 12 places on the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business Index. At the same time, 2017, we dropped 13 places. Only last month, or is it sometime 2 weeks ago, it emerged that another index, this time, I think is another business-related index. We had dropped from 4th to 5th position. And guess what?
But they are pushing funds now to make it better.
But I see what funds
is it meant to be a conversation between
no. Yes, but I don't no. Again, he speaks about factories. Yes. He says that we built a Commander Sugar factory. It is nothing. You go and plant pineapple. Without
but the Commander story is true, is it not?
Yes, but Commander, we spent $35 million building a factory that can last 100 years. Planting sugarcane takes 6 months. You understand the point I'm making? So this claim that we should have planted sugarcane before we built the factory is a bogus.
No, but you didn't have. Even
I'm saying that no, it is not true.
No, we are not putting.
Before
no, but you
did not. Look, before we left power, indeed, when we applied for the Commander Sugar Factory loan, we applied for 2 loans, $35 million for the factory itself, which takes 2 years to build, and $24 million for the setting up of a plantation.
Says it takes less.
I beg your pardon. It is not true.
Well, it depends on
I
what
beg
you're
your
doing.
pardon, $24 million
to
set up a plantation.
Right.
The factory funds were approved first. So we built it. I've told you that it took 2 years to build that factory. It will last 100 years if you maintain it properly. So you can plant sugarcane several times in between that period. The $24 million was approved just before we left power. Okay. The onus has always been on them since then to take that money and use it to cultivate the plantation to feed the factory. In addition to this, we did the fish processing factory.
Wrap up for me. Let him have it.
But he spoke at length. We did the fish.
But you have spoken at length.
No. If he speaks, I will speak because there is a fair allocation of time. I beg your pardon.
But everybody knows that he's speaking.
We did the fish processing
for like 10 minutes.
We did the fish processing factory. We did the Etuabo gas plant, which is a factory. People forget that. We did the Bupe Share Nut factory. Go to the phase 1 board, and I'm sure he has access to that information. Between 2013 and 2015, 69 factories were set up there. And we are talking big-time factories, not the cottage industries they intend to set up, which they cannot even do. In between,
how did those impact the economy?
Yes, $1 billion of investment went into that. In between, or amongst those 69 new factories, they employed 16,000 Ghanaians. The figures are available at the Phase 1's authority, and you can access it. Now they've been chanting a slogan, one district, one factory. The only thing they can point to is a pineapple plantation.
It's a starting point.
As if it is is the first time we are planting pineapple in Ghana. There are many pineapple plantations. But let me make the point. In June of 20,
there's money that's been pushed in there.
So let me show you.
Land for me,
let me show you the fallacy
land for
and
me.
the falsehoods they've been telling. In June 2017.
No, you're landing now for me.
Yes, in June 2017, Madam Giftuahine Konedu, the coordinator of the One District, One Factory program, she came out to say that as of June, they had all the money they needed, and so 10 factories were going to take off.
Okay.
In August, President Akufo-Addo at the Kumfi sword cutting program said that 51 factories will be ready by November of last year. We are in March of 2018. Where are those factories? In addition to that, Honorable Alan Chemantin, Trade Minister, sometime in December last year, said 192 of the factories were ready for takeoff.
Okay.
Then, in January this year, Madam Giftuahine Konedu again says, now 4 are ready and 68 will take off. Only last week or last 2 weeks, I heard Mr. Humka Lindsay, the Deputy Trade Minister, say that 99 of these factories are ready for takeoff. So, depending on who is speaking, they throw figures about. And yet, as I speak to you, not a single brick has been laid anywhere in respect of that.
Thank you very much.
Final point. You know, he related that to debt and created the impression that part of the money they have borrowed has gone into this thing. Meanwhile, they themselves tell us that this is essentially a private sector activity.
No, but
then the most is a PPP. How much money? How much money? How much of what you have bought? How much? I beg your pardon. How much? Let me land.
I think you.
No, but you are not being fair.
Felix, I've been fair.
Let me make.
You asked the question, and
you started the conversation.
10 seconds for you. Then you have the final word.
Look. The fact of the matter is that you don't borrow at that expensive rate, 19% rate for a bond, and sink it into consumption. It is poor economic management.
Thank you.
When you borrow at that rate, you put it into capital expenditure, which will yield dividends for you to pay over time.
Thank you.
That is what we did.
I'm sure the finance minister has heard you.
Absolutely.
Eric, take a bite quickly.
I think that it's very simple. That the people around Commander, the chiefs and people around Commander, would be able to attest to the sort of, if you like, political gimmickry that went on in the establishment of that factory. But apart from that, it's a clear indication that my friend here doesn't even appreciate the facts. He is talking about the fact that there was some prediction that because of the Sankofa fails, there's going to be an injection into the economy, it's going to boost the economy. He has forgotten that when they came into power in 2009, right? January 2009, under the auspices of President Kufuor, Ghana had now found oil in commercial quantities. Let me finish.
Is it
they had an opportunity?
Is what
they had an opportunity to take advantage of that and transform this economy.
Guess what they did. Felix, you are not happy when he.
If you go and look at the PIAC reports, the PIAC reports, right, and the amount of money that my friends here used in capacity building. Some of the money, phantom projects and all of those things. That is what they did.
Very baseless propaganda.
No, it's not baseless. It's true.
No, how much is GSPC spending on the building of the headquarters, for instance?
To the point that,
okay, how much is GSPC spending on the building of the headquarters and renovating the headquarters?
I am happy today that we have a government that has decided that government's revenue, monies that are accused to government, would be used judiciously, would not be used in funding individual businesses that would end up sending our.
But the debts keep growing.
Our confirm so
they don't know.
They say it's no.
But I am saying that. They are borrowing.
I am saying.
Okay, they just don't want to admit it. They are borrowing. They are unable to raise revenue like they promised.
Prudent management for the economy to get to this point. And I am saying that when they left power, with all the things that he's talking about, our economy had grown by 3.2%. Now, manufacturing sector, negative. Agri, negative. Foreign direct investment at the point was actually woefully inadequate. Our credit rating, had dropped. This government has come in, and as I speak to you, all these indices and indicators points to a trajectory, a transformation agenda the president has stated.
You are borrowing.
And I am always happy that we have a president. I keep saying this, and I think that
Eric,
myself and Felix.
The plans are fine.
Let me make my point. Myself and Felix, we are young politicians, right? And that it's important to basically emulate the conviction of President Akufo-Addo, who, when he says that I'm going to do this, has that presence of mind and the political will to do so. And he has done that.
At what cost?
At what cost? What do you mean at what cost? And I'm saying that
he doesn't do it. Please.
What we have done
He promised
today,
51 factories in November. He didn't deliver it. Today
so what has giving us an opportunity. Okay. And as we said, he actually attested to the fact that the economy has grown. Oh. And if the economy has grown, and the GDP ratio has actually shrunk, right? And it gives us an opportunity to invest in capital project infrastructure, especially the rail. Do you know what the rail sector would do for this economy?
The only
and then he's sitting here and talking about all of this. The only work found oil and commercial activities.
The only work that is going on in the real sector now is work between the Tema and Akosombo line. $300 million of money was left by the NDC government for the MPP. But let me come to the point about growing with oil. In 2011, the highest growth rate ever recorded in the history of Ghana, 14.4%, was recorded under the NDC government. The 7% growth rate that you tout is half of that, even with more oil than ever before. In 2010, we grew by 8% without oil. Okay, it was bigger than the 7% that you are boasting of now. So the figures you are boasting of now are insignificant. They pale into insignificance when you compare it to what has happened before.
Again,
but the point I the final point for ask him that. Ask him that for the 40 billion that is borrowed at the end of this month. Let them show you one major infrastructure project that they can show for it. Nothing.
The debt rises, the people.
There's nothing to show for it. Absolutely nothing.
That is absolutely
nothing to show for it. So thank you to Felix Kwashiofo, who is a former Deputy Minister for Communications, and he speaks on behalf of the NDC. Felix, and Eric Chum is the number 2 man at the Ghana Export Promotion Center. You are joining.
What is this about this? Bandana.
General Mosquito.
Yeah. I saw these pictures online recently. He's introducing a new topic.
And thank you all very much, gentlemen. Have a good morning. The politician's dream and the taxpayer's burden. We'll see you after the break.
I'm even surprised by wearing some of this.
Welcome. Let's talk about the Livelihood Empowerment Program, the LEAP as it's popularly called. And I've been joined this morning by the Minister responsible for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Otiko Afisa Chaba. Welcome, Madam. Good morning. And thank you very much. How's the weekend?
Busy.
What kept you busy? You want to share?
No.
You don't want to share. Anyway. So we understand that the 52nd cycle of the LEAP, 53rd, I must say, the LEAP is coming up, starting today through the 30th. Care to share what exactly LEAP is for those who do not know?
Okay, thank you very much, and a good morning to all your viewers. The LEAP is a cash payment, livelihood empowerment program that we've been doing since President Kufuor's era. And this is the 53rd cycle payment. And basically, we give out cash grants bi-monthly. That means every 2 months. And it's in categories where if you have persons with disability who are not productive, because there are people who are disabled but they are productive. That means they are working, maybe they are teachers or they have some form of income. Yes. LEAP is for extreme poor. And Ghana has identified from the Ghana Statistical Service 2.2 million. And currently we are working on 950,000 in about 213,044 households. And so apart from persons with disability who are not productive, we also have the aged above 65. Also not being productive. So, for instance, your mother, if you are remitting her monthly, she will not qualify to be on the LEAP. Just because you are above 65 does not necessarily mean that you are going to
It's not a wholesale thing.
No. You have to fit in with what we call the PMT. They have a proxy means test, a questionnaire that they administer. And then when you qualify, and then there's a scoring and a ranking, then you would be.
You spoke about complementary service. What exactly is it? How does that fit into this whole plan?
Before I get there, the other parts of it is that people who are also pregnant women and lactating mothers with children under 1 year who cannot work, they are also on it, and orphans and vulnerable children. So we give them 64 Ghana cedis if it is a household with 1 beneficiary. Where it is a household with 2 beneficiaries, we give them 76. So for instance, if there's a disabled person with a pregnant woman with a child under 1, that's 2. And then in a household where there are 3 beneficiaries, we give them 88 Ghana cedis. So you could have an orphan, you could have a pregnant woman, and then you could have a disabled person. And then where there are where there are 4 or more, then we give them 106 Ghana cedi. So it works out to about 1 cedi a day. It's not much, but it helps.
These monies, interesting, but these monies are given bi-monthly. That's every 2 months they receive this. Is it not woefully inadequate? 64 cedis, 76 cedis, 88 cedis, 106 cedis.
Yes.
Looking at the economy, looking at the cost of living, is it not inadequate?
It is, but that is to you and I. But to somebody who perhaps she's above 65, maybe all her children have passed away, she has no form of income, it's a lot of money for them in the village. And even some of them, we teach them how to save, and they are able to manage it and even save. And then we are building on it with what we call the cash plus, where those that are strong, productive, a little productive, we are, in terms of the LIPW, we are able to give them startups and training. And some of them there's a blind woman in Bongo, she rears animals. Others are doing rope making or what do you call it, basketry. You talked about the complementary services. The complementary services in terms of capitation grant, national health insurance, giving free exercise books, planting for food, and jobs. Those are the complementary services that we add on. And so it's not only giving the LEAP, but where LEAP is given, do we give exercise books there? Are those children on national health insurance? And then we put the orphans and vulnerable children on national health insurance, as well as the aged and even prisoners. This last year we launched the program of putting prisoners onto the national health insurance, and over 13,000 prisoners are being enrolled onto the national health. I just wanted to let you also know that out of the total number of people, the 950,000. Orphans and vulnerable children account for 42%. And then the elderly above 65 are 32%.
Okay.
Disabled are 18%, and then infants
what impact
are 7%.
does this initiative have on the lives of these beneficiaries? I still am struggling to get. I mean, 2 months.
You've never lived in the village.
So I want to know. I'm
you
curious.
don't know poverty. That's why I lived.
Well, I do a lot of community work. I see people, you know, but then I'm wondering what the impact.
I worked in very deprived communities for 10 years. Where no light, no water, nothing.
Right.
And so in those communities, sometimes the whole sale of a person, maybe they are selling cocoa or whatever, is 2 cedis. So if you give them 1 cedi, they are able to manage it.
Okay.
In the village, some of them have farms.
Right.
So they supplement the whatever we give to them. The fact is that they are extreme poor people. But for this 1 cedi a day, they will starve.
Right.
Because they don't have anybody to help them. Like I said, they're very aged or they're disabled who don't have anybody to take care of them. Some are very sick. They can't even come for the cash grants themselves because they are bedridden.
Right.
And so they have carers who come to take it for them. And so those are some of the issues. Sometimes when you go for payments, there are complaints that able-bodied persons are there.
That's a genuine concern.
Yes, yes. That's why I'm addressing it. Those abled persons are largely caregivers of bedridden people who cannot come, or a woman who has just given birth. She cannot come to the cash point with the new baby, so she will give the card to somebody else. However, there are ghost names, and there are some people who should not even be caregivers who are there on it. And so we have started an audit to be able to get them out of
when is this audit done? And
the audit has started for us to clean up the register to be able to say that you are qualified. Because you know a lot of people want to cut corners and get monies that they shouldn't be getting.
I'm happy that you are looking at a pro-poor policy. But you are Minister for Social Protection as well. How safe is Ghana's safety net for the poor? How is it? How do we bridge the gap? The recent figures that came out for our population says we have 29.6 million and we have a dependency rate of 73%, which means that we have a lot more people who are not financially, you know, competent, if you will. How safe is our safety net for the poor, especially?
In a developing country with a huge debt that we inherited from the previous administration, you cannot clean poverty like that.
Right.
And so we have risks, and that we cannot cover everybody at the same time. As I said, we have about 2.2 million determined as extreme poor, and we are only at 950,000. So the 1-point-something million, what is happening to them? Government alone cannot do it, but for the ones that we are able to manage, we give them that safety. It's not only about their consumption, we also look at their health. That's why we include putting them on the National Health Insurance. We are also talking to the World Bank to expand and go to the new GISOP, where we are looking at a hand up. And not just a cash grant. Giving out money is a handout. But we want to teach people how to fish. And so that pilot in Bongo, we want to expand it throughout the country so that those who are a little bit strong, you know, there are aged people who can do things. And so those ones will be put on the startups and the training programs and all of that. Currently, as I said, we are at 213,044 households. We are doing an expansion, targeting to be able to hit 456,000. And so it will also bring in more people.
Where does the money come from? That's the big question, because if it's a good initiative, we want sustainability. Where do we draw the monies from?
Money comes from Government of Ghana, and then it also comes from the World Bank and also from DFID. And so we have a program, indeed, per the Millennium Development Goals that we were part of. We're able to have poverty. Yes, things have deteriorated a little, but we are working on it. Because you see, poverty is dynamic.
Okay.
Through an accident, you can become disabled and not able to manage.
Right.
You can go to the hospital and have stroke or some form of ailment or wrong medication can turn you into a bedridden person who needs help. You can also win the lottery and be rich.
Exactly.
And be leapt out of poverty or a gas explosion. So we have an emergency leap for victims of the gas explosion.
Right.
The Kintampo problem that we had, the waterfront in terms of central region, we had issues with flooding and all of that. So we have what we call the emergency leap for 3 months.
How does that apply to all the children I see begging on the streets?
That's a different matter.
From Kaswa to Malam through airport all the way to Adenta. And you see them there, they're sleeping at their Kaukudi and all of that.
Do they have parents?
I don't know. You tell me. You're a gender social protection
minister.
So
we have initiated a program. It's a new initiative that I brought in called Operation Get Off the Street Now for a Better Life.
Right.
And so you can't also just remove them. They have rights.
Right.
And so we are doing a mapping and a database, identifying shelters, organizing a reintegration program. Those who have homes, where are their homes? Can they go back home? Was there a problem there why they left? Some of them, it's the parents who ask them to come and sell ice water.
Oh, really?
Yes, really. And some of them, they take contracts to push the persons with disability.
Okay.
Others come to clean the screens of cars.
Exactly.
Others come to sell pure water, plantain chips, and all of that. So the program is to look at the numbers. Those who are of school-going age in Ghana since FQ 1992. Every child of school-going age must be in school and stay in school. So parents must be aware of that, so that during school hours, children should not be on the street. Those who are disabled, we have rehabilitation centers. They are in a very bad condition. We're looking at private partnership to rehabilitate them, so that when we get the numbers across the country, we can put them there to learn how to make shoes.
How soon are we getting the children off the streets? That's the big question that my viewers have been asking.
Yes, we have a 5-year program. It depends on the availability of rooms in the schools and the number of children. And so this September, our program is to take some of them off. But we need to know the numbers, and that's what the mapping and the database is about.
Oftentimes, when some of these things have been done, people are cleared off the streets,
and
they're taken into shelters, some come back. There are issues of rape and all of that. And sometimes even those who report the issues of rape can't guarantee their own safety any longer. How are we looking at that as well from where you sit as Minister for Gender?
Yeah, it is some form of moral depravity that a man will want to sleep with a 2-year-old or less. And so...
Are our laws not punitive enough?
The laws are there. The laws are there. In terms of defilement, you cannot put somebody in jail for more than a minimum of less than 7 years and a maximum of 25 years. And with rape, it's 5 years and then a maximum of 25 years. If it is somebody not being in school or child marriage, is 1 year or 500 Ghana cedis or both. But the enforcement is not there. The enforcement is not there. You, when you have a problem with traffic or something, they will call you that you should go to MTT. You'll be looking for a minister or somebody to say, hey, it's only a minor offense.
We don't do that here at TV.
It has to stop. I'm using you as an example, that for the law to work, it must be enforced. And then education, the ministry advocates, there are policies and laws against this since independence, and yet people are still doing them. And so we are going to intensify the advocacy. Another initiative I've brought in and talking to Ghana Bureau of Languages is to turn all this into our languages. Because a lot of our people can't
localize
read,
it.
Yes, English. So in Chi, in Ewe, Dagbani, in Zama, and then Dagar is what we are going to start with. And do it in voice. Because I speak Gonja, but I don't read Gonja. So there's a need for people who can speak but cannot read a dialect to also have it in voice. So Ministry of Information, the mobile vans will be using them. And I would need the media to also give us free airtime so that we can do our talks, social protection drive talk. So you can give us the time.
We'll be happy to host you every now and then. I want to look at some key policies that you want to pursue, during your tenure. But interestingly, there's been a new wave of of gender. Pepper them, sugar them, feed them, all of those ones. I'm sure you heard about it.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that?
I think it's an interesting time. By the grace of God, our president has been made the champion, AU champion of gender, and also the SDG co-chair. Alleviating poverty, eradicating it is a serious business. Poverty kills people. It's like a disease. And so when you have the sugar them and the pepper them and all the other groups coming in, it's all to help.
People think they are extremists and that they are taking gender to a different level and promoting extremism.
I think that what is extreme is somebody who goes to rape a woman or to defile a child. That is extreme.
Right.
But for people who are coming in to say that, oh, let's pamper men. We have the He for She program that we launched last year.
Right, I remember.
To get our men to support the women, to get our boys so that in the home, early socialization, boys and girls cook, they wash, they do the house chores so that girls are not tired when they get to school. We should stop teenage pregnancy and child marriage.
Right.
So in terms of people who feel that they should pepper them, they have a way of talking about it. And then those who say we should sugar them, they also have their way. So both of them can be married together to be able to achieve gender equality and equity. That is what we are looking for. Some people are feminists. Are they extreme? People have died for women to have universal suffrage. Today we take it for granted. But once upon a time, women were not in school. Women did not vote. It has taken a lot of activism. And now we have the affirmative action bill that is at a cabinet level, and we need your help to get it.
I'm happy you brought the affirmative action. The persons with disability, i.e. those who are visually impaired, our friends who have albinism and all
autism,
of that, they say oftentimes when we talk about affirmative action, it only goes to speak for women and not necessarily persons who are disadvantaged in that direction. What do you say to that?
I would say that
is this new bill tackling that?
Definitely, because I met them out there. They were part of the stakeholder discussions, the very people who are coming to talk to you now. Yes, you know, the National Council on Persons with Disabilities is also under the Ministry of Gender. And so we cannot do anything. That is why the LEAP, Persons with Disability, are a part of it. They were part of the stakeholder discussions. We have included their views. And then we have the bill for persons with disability. And so that also is being reviewed and will be sent to Cabinet and to Parliament this year. So persons with disability have been discriminated against and marginalized.
Does it worry
for
you
too
that
long.
Parliament, of all places where the law on disability was passed, to have public buildings have ramps? 10 years after that, Parliament doesn't have the ramps. Does it worry you?
Yes, it is worrying, and it's one of the things that we are talking about. Even my office is not friendly to persons with disability. So I've called the engineers to come and look at how they can make it more friendly and put in a ramp. The thing is, because of issues of money, old buildings will be difficult to modernize, to make them more accessible. But as much as can be done, we should be able to, where it is easy to do it, we should do it. But with the new ones, we are insisting that every new building should be friendly to persons with disability. And the thing is that it's about money. And so we are going to look at private sector as well as, and you know, the Ministry of Gender, our budget was only 2.3 million for this year. How are you going to do all this? But there is collaboration.
There's collaboration.
The ministry will collaborate with all other ministries so that if Ministry of Agric has structures, they should make them disability friendly.
On that note of collaboration, somebody sent a message ahead when we put out this advert that you're going to be here, that you've been accused of collaborating with party people to give school feeding contracts to party people. Is it entirely correct? Is it
giving school feeding to
contracts to party
people? Why party people? Are they not Ghanaians? But school feeding is given to anybody who applies. Everybody is entitled to it. So you apply, you go for an interview, and you are taken. We need to stop this hypocrisy. The point is that school feeding is to alleviate poverty in the farmer. And so we have agreed that we're no longer going to import rice, but we will buy from the local farmers. So we are inculcating that into the caterers. We are also supposed to alleviate poverty in the women.
Right.
So it creates jobs. Also alleviate poverty in the children and give them food to eat. A lot of children in rural Ghana don't go to school to learn. They go to eat. And today they become journalists and what have you. Look, this is development.
Yeah.
And it is a serious business. You have to devoid it of I know that school feeding and other activities have been marred with partisanship. But we are cleaning it up. We are moving. And that will be a gradual process to ensure that poverty has no color. It's not about ethnicity or religion or your party. Poverty is poverty. And anybody can be poor. And so we are working to that effect to ensure that we make things better. And so even the amounts of money used to be 80 pesos for school feeding. Now it is 1 cedi. From January, the new program is that they will be paid, the caterers will be paid 1 cedi per child per cooking day. The other part of it is that this is the first time in the history of Ghana that caterers have been paid in less than 3 months. Usually it's beyond 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and so on. But people think that Otiko is the minister, Nanado is the president, we should wave a magic wand, and so they will be complaining. It's okay to complain, but we must find solutions. And the solutions will not be in just my bosom, but in yours and the rest of Ghana. So that
I thank you very much for your time. We're grateful. I wish you all the best as you roll out the 53rd cycle of the LEAP program. Begins today, ends on the 30th. But happy birthday to Ruth Shandoff, to Samiba, as well as David Kofite, aka Kofi Dalkish. They call him baby boy here at TV3.
Yeah,
yes.
There are unscrupulous people who take advantage of the poor. Yes. True. In the 52nd, I was in Kumasi, and there was a rumor that Nana Addo Dankwa, the president, says that anybody who is above 65 should pay 10 cedis and they will be put on the LEAP. It is never true.
It's not true.
The processes that I have described to you is the only way through which
you fill the form, you apply, we vet you.
Yes, and then, you don't even fill a form. We have enumerators who come to your community and give out a questionnaire. The proxy means
what happens to those people, those unscrupulous? Do you arrest them and prosecute them?
I'm going to use this your platform that the police should do that, and that they should not take advantage of people. Or maybe you are a carer. You go and collect money for a sick person, then you use the money for yourself or other things.
I'm grateful for your time. Thank you very much. We'll be back after this break with a conversation about the affirmative action, where the persons of disability are raising flags. We'll hear their case here on NewDay after this break. Let's have a conversation about affirmative action and how persons with disability are roped in. This conversation is as part of our missions initiative and is proudly brought to you by Star Ghana with funding from UKA, Danida, and all the other partners who are on it. I've been joined by Hannah Awuzi. She's Special Mothers Project key campaigner. Also, Maunyo Iyako Dagba is the Vice President of the Ghana Federation of Disability Organization, and Alexander Bankole Williams is the spokesperson for the Ghana Federation of Disability Organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
Thank
Good
you.
morning. How are you doing? You heard me ask the minister the first question to set the tone for this conversation. She was not altogether excited about it, but let's talk about this new bill. Have we seen it? What cabinet is preparing? Have we had hints of it? I'll start with you, Maunyo.
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity. The bill is at cabinet, as you rightly said. We are yet to have a copy of our issues actually included, but not to say that we want to say we are grateful to the ministry, particularly the minister, who has given us the opportunity to bring out what we want to see in the new bill.
Right.
Because we want an inclusive affirmative action bill and not just a gender-focused one. Otherwise, persons with disabilities will be further marginalized.
Hannah, the talk has always been there. The will to push through is always lacking. Do you get the sense of hope that anything will change this time round?
I'm trying to get hope, because what has been the trend is that something is said but there's a very huge gap between what is said and what actually happens on the ground. And it's not only in relation to the affirmative action bill, it's in everything, any policy that have been. And since we talked about LEAP and NHS, let me just cite one example. Somewhere last year, we had the Cerebral Palsy Conference in Ghana, and the Ministry of Gender came in to say that they are giving all children with cerebral palsy access to LEAP and NHIS. Till date, we don't know what is happening. We don't know who the ministry is communicating to. I'm a parent of a child with cerebral palsy, and if I don't know this, I don't know how and when my daughter
and a vocal voice at that. So if you don't know how and when,
I don't know how and when my daughter can access that LEAP that was announced. So there's a very wide gap between what is put on paper and how it actually translates into our lives.
Bankole, what's the new wave? Where are we going from here? The minister says we're part of the stakeholder conversations, but that's as far as it ends. Now it goes to Parliament. What's the new wave? Where are we going? Where do we go from here?
Well, the new wave actually is, first of all, for us to receive copies of the proposed new draft, because in actual fact, what happened from July last year was that the disability community made various inputs with the help of the minister so far as the new draft of the bill was concerned. But since we made those inputs, we've not seen a final draft that actually contains what we said should be in there. So as it goes to cabinet, from cabinet back to the AG, and then to Parliament, what we want to see and what we want all stakeholders, whether it's the AG's department, as the drafters department in the AG's department, and the Parliamentary Select Committee, what we want them to get is that when you look at what this bill is seeking to do, the bill is not a women's right bill. It's actually an affirmative action bill. And so let's ensure that where economic, social, political, among other rights deprivation are concerned, it affects persons with disabilities. And they are therefore included. But
why is it always a focus on women when they talk about affirmative action? Why is it always so? Do you know?
Because we are vulnerable, we marginalized. We want to see more women at the strategic decision-making table. We want to see them in Parliament, as ministers. We just want visibility for women. And having said that, we feel that there's another group that is also equally marginalized. Even when you talk about women, more often they left the women with disabilities behind. And that is so unfortunate. We want to see visibility for persons with disabilities, particularly women with disabilities as well.
I end with you, Hannah. So I know that we have had a lot of conversation about cerebral palsy. The help hasn't come as much as we wanted to come. In spite of the fact that we have the laws and the policy and everything else. Going forward, what would be your call to those in authority, duty bearers? What would be it?
My call to those in authority will be to pay attention to children with cerebral palsy. I keep saying that a child with cerebral palsy is not useless. When given the right environment, they could come to be the Faridas of our time. We all see what Farida is doing in Ghana. And there are more children with disabilities who can do that, given the right opportunities to thrive. So the duty bearers should make it a point to put these children into their plans and actions.
Bankole, I'll give you 30 seconds as well.
There's been too much rhetoric. Let's see a lot more action. Since we say we want to feel it.
That's all.
Yes.
Let's see action and not talk. Maunyo? Your closing thoughts, 30 seconds for you. You're always laughing.
Yes.
This is my friend.
There are just too many challenges. Sometimes I laugh over them. It's good for me, good for my health.
It helps.
I think that affirmative action, particularly, I'm sure that disability is included, because I'm just coming from the second section of the Commission on the Citizens of Women, and our Honorable Minister actually reported that disability is included, and I was like, wow, I'm going to really hold her accountable to this. So having gone that far to report, I'm sure that she had she had made sure that all our inputs or majority of them are included, and we're just expecting that draft. Yes.
There's hope, but as to whether my friends have hope, we will talk about that shortly. But thank you very much, Hannah Uzi. She's Special Mothers Project key actor. I'm grateful for your time. And also Maunyo Dagba, Yako Dagba is the Vice President of Ghana Federation of Persons with Disability, and also Alexander Bankole Williams is a spokesperson for the Federation of Disability Organization. Thank you very much for making time to join us here on TV3 NewDay this morning. Happy birthday to you, Ruth Shandoff, your sister to our own Brenda Shandoff here, and also to you, David Kofite, aka Kofi Dalgish, interesting baby boy producer here. Happy birthday to you, Samuel Bar. Happy birthday as well. Tomorrow is another day. We'll be back with some more here on NewDay, your award-winning morning show. My name is Johnny Hughes. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Sanya Nawa. Just like karma.